What up, G Life? It's your boy MC Shadow back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and are subscribed to the channel. It's absolutely free. That is how you help my channel get into the algorithm. I highly appreciate you. Go ahead and do that. You know. Now, don't forget to check out my second channel, Menace Society M.O.D, where we talk about stuff outside of the streets. Now, what I wanted to get into was I was asked by one of my good subscribers, right, if I could give my opinion on this topic, right, and if I could speak on it on this channel, because normally we talk about this kind of stuff on my other channel, right? But I guess for a bigger audience, right, to I guess see the magnitude of situations, right? Which is, my thoughts on the conflicts going on between these countries, right? And it's as you as an American citizen, living in the United States, should you have some concerns when it comes to conflicts, in other regions of the world. Now, when it comes to issues between countries, you should always be concerned, all right? Because as we know, in 2023, war is not so, black and white, right? It's not so cut and dry, right? A lot of countries are in bed with each other, and a lot of countries, have, pacts and alliances, and, that's how the stuff is run, right? So you have a lot of countries that, are allies with each other, right? So if one country goes to war, then it could set off a chain reaction of countries, choosing sides, right? And that is what creates, world wars, right? It's what happened with the other two wars, how that occurred, right? Because countries pick sides, right? And when it comes to war, it's so cutthroat that these larger, you know, countries, right, who normally tend to be the manipulators, right, tend to bully people to pick sides, right? So even if you guys would love to stay neutral, there is a chance that the country will not give you that option to be neutral. So you would have to pick a side. If not, get ran over. So it's what tends to happen, with a lot of conflicts, right? Not only that, when other countries see other countries now, going to war in other areas, right? It now takes away from, if they're being defended by a certain country, right? It takes away, resources now if they want to make their moves, right? It's less of a backlash and less of a chance that, they will focus in on them, right? Because they're being, occupied somewhere else, right? So it's why a lot of countries, when you see one country make its move, why others tend to make their moves, right? Because they see that, people are occupied, over there. So, allows them to make their moves, right? And these are not just the only conflicts that, have been stirring up, right? You still have like China and Taiwan and other, Saudi Arabia and like Pakistan and, and Saudi Arabia, I mean, um, India and like Pakistan and in other areas like that, right, where conflicts have always been you know here and there. So you can see why people would be on edge, right, when it comes to conflicts starting up, right, sparking up. So yeah, even if you live in the United States, yeah, you should still have some concern, right, because it could potentially affect you. It is going to affect you financially wise, that I could tell you, right? Because obviously, if you're sending financial aid to any of these countries, it's going to come out of your paycheck, not these rich individuals who are volunteering this money. It's not going to come out of their paychecks, I'll tell you that much. It's going to come out of the working, American. When this conflict has nothing to do with you and you don't even know what the hell's going on, you're still going to get charged for it, even if you disagree with the methods. You know what I mean? Right? Because just because the United States people see it as the land of the free and this and that doesn't mean that they're always the good guys in this, or doesn't mean that they're not pulling any strings, or that they don't have bad intentions themselves, right? Or looking to benefit off of the tragedy of other countries, right? Or misery and struggles of other countries, right? Just to get a buck out of it, right? It's the dirty game of war, the cutthroat, shisty, shady art of war, right? Because you see, the mainstream media, was grilling Russia for all their missile attacks that they were doing on Ukrainian buildings, that housed, um, you know, women and children, or, elderly, or, civilians, right? And they would plasterize them when, Russia did anything, you know, with any malicious intent, to, people like that, right? They would plaster them. But now that Israel's doing it, the United States, the mainstream media is silence about it, right? When it's the exact same thing that Russia was doing. So how come they're not? How come now they're choosing to hold their tongue, right? And that is the art of, manipulating the media, right? Manipulating the masses, right? Gonna point some stuff out, but not gonna point out the other, right? When it's you guys now. And this is the problem that people have with mainstream media and media in itself, right? Because you're willing to call out other people for the shit that they do, but then when now you guys start doing the same shit, right? Because it's not beneficial to you, you refuse to call it. And that is the hypocrisy that we live in and the bullshit that people are talking about. That's not a conspiracy or, dumb rhetoric. I mean, those it's obviously what's going on. I mean, it's front and center, right? Now that's not saying that, oh, if you don't like this country, how we do things, go, live in another country, you know what I mean? It's not saying none of that, America's great, land of the free, you get a lot of freedoms and a lot of rights, right? Doesn't mean that it doesn't have its issues, its problems, and doesn't mean that you shouldn't call them out on the issues and the problems, right? Just because in other places it's worse, doesn't mean that the behavior that's happening here is okay. You know what I mean? Because then that's petty when you want to choose to see it that way, you know what I mean? It's immature. Right? Especially we're talking about, politics here and about real situations, right? You can't just be like, well, it's worse in other places, so just, deal with the deal that you have, as many rights as you do right here, right? Be grateful. Doesn't make it right for people to be doing what they're doing, right? So of course people should be concerned when countries start going to war, right? Because it could create a domino effect, right? Because a lot of countries, like I said, they're, do business together and have pacts and allegiance, you know what I mean? So it could create another world war, right? When countries start, battling. Because there's no secret that this tug of war between America and China, you know what I mean, has been brewing for a long time, right? China and Russia, right? And that's not to say that China and Russia, because their alliances is not all that great either. I know people see them doing business together and think that, oh, what if they, how could I say, combine forces or whatever. Yes, they view the West as the enemy, right? They view the West, ideologies as, bad or whatever. Doesn't mean that they actually like each other or their views, right? China's views on Russia or Russia on China, right? But they create a pact. Because the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So it's like we both hate these guys more than we hate each other. So so it doesn't mean that they're like it's all rainbows and sunshines between them, right? And we have already seen the betrayals of countries when they have an alliance, right? Same thing that happened with Stalin and Hitler, right? When they had their truce, and then that truce went south, right? It went sideways, right? When Hitler betrayed Stalin, because obviously Hitler didn't like the Russians' view either, right? Even though they viewed these people as, the enemies and stuff like that, at the end of the day, they still had conflicts, on their personal views on how they wanted to run things, right? And the same, applies with China, Russia, North Korea, and all these groups that people always want to align together, right? As the, Axis powers of nowadays, right? So there is a lot of issues between countries and drama, so it's not as cut as dry as people say that, oh, Russia's gonna align themselves with China and what. They have to understand that those countries, have, beefs and intertwines, with themselves as well, right? Like I said, just because, you guys conduct business together or something like that doesn't necessarily mean that you guys like each other, right? It's out of necessity, right? It's not out of, because you guys, are cool with each other. And that's the flaw in a lot of people's plans when they try to put groups together. But overall, people should be concerned, because like I said, it only takes one domino to make the whole stack fall, and it's messed up, that's what's going on with other countries, right? You stir shit up at the safety of your home, right? And these people are paying the prices for you're meddling, right? In the United States case, when it comes to like Israel and Palestine, right? Or, Ukraine and Russia, Russia thinking that they're the big bad bully, right? Because in war, you don't know what's going to happen. You might think that the United States is the better army, right? The biggest, right? And you have nothing to fear because of that. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to, play out like that in the battlefield, right? War is it's something that's unexpected. You know what I mean? A lot of things could happen. A lot of things play factors. So it's not just, simple and plain thinking that you're going to take the W, right? I mean, look at Russia. Everyone thought that they were going to be able to sweep Ukraine, like that. But it's not what happened, right? Turned to be a little bit more difficult. And that's what happens when you assume that you're going to, have the upper hand and stuff like that. War is it's a dog-eat-dog game, bro. Stuff doesn't go according to plan, bro, in war. You know what I mean? So people have to, look at it from those perspectives as well. And, not just think that because you're in this great country that you're going to have the upper hand. You know what I mean? But yeah, something that people should pay attention to, is real life things that are happening in real life. You know what I mean? That could affect, each and every one of you, if not, in a major way, at least in a financial way. You know what I mean? But it's going to affect people regardless. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? That's why it's important to vote and important to, voice your opinions. And, and because at the end of the day, governments don't care about their people. They only care about their own selfish, views, right? What could they get out of it, right? What could make their overall situations better at whatever cost? Doesn't matter how many people they have to sacrifice because it's not their lives that are just being, thrown out there, right? To them, it's just like these people mean nothing to them. That's why they're able to just, send soldiers here and there because life to them means nothing, bro. As long as they could get or maintain, what they have. That's how they view human life. As easy as that. Then we'll just go to war. Yeah, because, putting the lives of all these people is not something that's, that important, right? It's crazy, right? And this is the governments that people choose to, vouch for and, praise, right? How they view human life, right? To them, it's nothing. And yeah, they're the good guys, right? It's crazy. But overall, that's just my opinion, something to think about. People should always be concerned and, it's real shit.